Hi, I'm Ron.
And I'm Don.
And this is the Ron and Don Show. Thanks for joining us again today. We're very pleased to be back at the production facility of Florida Stainless Fabricators. Florida Stainless Fabricators is our host. Today we're going to take a look at what it takes to replace existing stainless steel cabinets inside of your restaurant.
This is going to really start off with what you have to do from a design and preparation standpoint. The next section, episode, will actually cover more in the area of installation and how you actually do the work on site once you've decided to go ahead with it. Generally, in the first 10 years of life of custom fabrication, you really start seeing a lot of degradation of some of the components. As you get out to 15 years, you might find that your menu has changed and lots of things have gone on, and that custom fabricated cabinetry no longer works. Take a look at the attached list of all the problems that can occur. Refrigeration systems not holding temperature from all kinds of reasons, of multiple systems hooked up by solenoid, or you may share refrigeration with another cabinet nearby. You may have old refrigerants that are no longer available. You may replace condensing units and evaporators. You have doors and drawers and cabinetry that are really no good anymore. You may have failed heat lamps and wires, and the entire wire is coated with grease and the insulation's coming off and they have failed. Leaking steam tables, inaccessible drain lines within the cabinetry or possibly in the floors and the walls around it. You may be built up on a curb, which causes lots of rodents and pest infestation problems and harborages. You could have a substantial change in menu, which makes the workstations of the cabinetry totally ineffective because of the relocation of cooking appliances and other support workstations around the cabinetry. You may have cross patterns. You may have had cabinetry cut up and rearranged, and now it's just a cobbled up mess and it needs to be replaced.
So we asked the question a minute ago, which you answered, and I just want to state it again. We're not talking about refurbishment here as we did in the first episode of this three-part series. We're talking about the complete replacement of the stainless steel, and the reasons for that are all the items that Don just listed there. If there are too many items on that list, they're probably having a negative impact on the operation of the restaurant. So now that it's been decided it's time to replace that equipment, let's talk about some of the design considerations.
You're going to get with operations right away and talk about how you want that restaurant to function. What are the workstations in relationship to other pieces of equipment or other activities within the restaurant? Then you're going to get a realistic project timeline. It's going to be no less than 4 months, could be 6 months or longer depending on your approval process within your organization. You're going to have to do logistical evaluation of the sites. Can you get the equipment in and out? Do you have landlord considerations? All kinds of stuff with the logistics. And then obviously the financial considerations. Does it need to be budgeted for right now in 6 months, or do you need to put it in next year's budget 18 months from now?
You know, we've seen, I'm thinking about your logistical considerations. We've certainly seen stainless steel components that are wider than the doorways that they have to go back out through. It's not a problem when you're removing the old, but it sure is a problem when you're trying to bring in the new. So first thing you need basically is a detailed sketch with dimensions, and there's no such thing as too many dimensions, nor is there such thing as too many photos when it comes time to start to plan this stuff out.
You need to take from every corner of the cabinet, floor, countertop, on both sides to any walls, and that help understand whether or not you have a crooked wall and all kinds of other problems with trying to fit this unit in there. You want a nice tight fit, but you got to be able to get it in there. And you also need to very carefully identify your utilities, the location of all your drain lines, cleanouts in the walls, all those items, so that
floor sinks are another consideration.
Yeah, and making sure that you have access to them so that when you're done, maybe for the first time ever, you can get at them and clean them. You also have to make sure you have enough drainage lines, you have enough water, you have enough electricity, and if you don't, how you'll get that to that site.
Again, I emphasize the fact, take lots and lots of photos, because if you've got to travel a day to get to the location where your restaurant is, it's a whole lot easier to go back and look at 150 photos than it is to get back on an airplane and go out there because you can't quite remember where that floor sink was.
And then shoot photos and take measurements of all the associated equipment, the cook line, where the hood is, on the other side where the service counters are, and where all that is, so that you can then build a true drawing and see how the cross-traffic patterns will work, how the workstations will work in relationship to the rest of the kitchen. So when you're done, you have taken something that was a disaster and turned it into a cherry pie with ice cream, whipped topping, and the whole 9 yards.
Now, don't let all of this intimidate you. It can be done, and a facility manager can launch this entire process. What it takes is a great working relationship between operations, the facility manager, the restaurant design folks, and frankly, a general contractor as well.
In some cases, you may need an equipment distributor or a designer to do the actual work. Here at Florida Stainless, they work with a lot of equipment distributors to handle everything. Now, the only problem with a kitchen designer or the distributors is they do have some biases to begin with, and you want to make sure that whatever their particular pet item is not designed into your cabinet if it doesn't work well for you.
It's all about the restaurant. What's best for operations.
And then some designers and or distributors only want to work with one fabricator, and you know, if that fabricator, you've had bad relationships in the past or whatever, you need to be able to be in charge of that particular thing. You own it, you're going to pay for it, you be in charge of it.
Okay, so the next step in the design process is an initial layout drawing that the fabricator can create. From there, you take that drawing and I assume get back with operations. And
right. We've talked to operations before about what they want where. We bring it back in and actually walk the space with the drawings and show them exactly where everything is, and they will always have changes. Yeah, that was a good idea, but I think I want this instead. And you finalize those drawings to make sure that you have everything. The location of a drop-in for silverware, put in a 1/9 or 1/6 size pan here, and over here we need to have a place to set this. And oh, I'm going to plug something in right here. Just making sure that all the details are on your first one. Sometimes it takes a second, and sometimes it takes a third review on site to get it right. You're spending a lot of money, do it until it's right. On the final walkthrough, you're going to actually have them sign off, and then you're going to bring a general contractor or the installers and or the subs in, and they're going to remeasure everything one more time to make sure, first of all, they can get it through the doors, through the hallways, up the stairs, around the corner, all that kind of stuff, and get it into the place, and then measure to make sure it'll fit in the designated location. If you're pulling out the curbs, they understand exactly how thick of a curb it is, how big it is, how long it's going to take out, and all those details so that they can give you your final bid numbers. And you've got your bid numbers from the fabrication at that point. Now you're ready to go in for your final financial approvals, contracting, and scheduling. And you've just spent probably at least 6 months off and on, not every day, but off and on, getting this thing ready to rock.
From there, it's time to schedule the work. Most of the time, this is simply just an overnight program that can be done over a series of 2, 3, 4, 5 nights, whatever it takes to do it, so that you're somewhat disruptive to the restaurant, but you're not disruptive to the point where they need to shut down. This work can be done in modular fashion so that one section's being done at a time, or in some cases, as we've done, you can target a slow day, which may be, in some cases, for example, a Super Bowl Sunday for some restaurants, where you can shut down on Saturday night and just work for the next 36 hours straight getting that stuff installed.
His crews always ask me, are they going to be working on the 4th of July? Because I, for years, did an awful lot of work on the 4th of July because my restaurants were slow on the 4th of July. So we close it down for 2 days, work around the clock, and when operations came back in, it was all new, and they loved it.
And all of that can be done with temporary modifications, or as we call it in the industry, Band-Aids, to keep the restaurant operational through the entire process.
In that 6-month lead time, you will have small failures, and just expect it. And they don't want to spend the money, but you got to keep cold food cold and hot food hot.
I'm Ron.
And I'm Don.
Thank you for joining us today. please subscribe.